eternity, a light flowing down from the heavenlies, and we are here reaching out. The Word of God is all we need. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. So God, please speak to me, reaching the next generation.
Well, greetings and welcome to Reaching the Next Generation. I'm Bishop Jerome Jones, and once again, I want to thank God for this opportunity that we have to be with you again today with another broadcast, amen, coming to you right here from Spring, Texas. Now, we're going to be filming this, or streaming this, I should say, on several platforms. So some of you may see a double stream. But I wanted to take time today as we are inspired of God to do so. I first of all want to say, as I have said in many broadcasts, that as the servant of God, we are called to only speak what God inspires us to speak. And that means also we are to do so in the timing that God gives us to do so. And so I want to take time to share with you what God has inspired and what He is inspiring me to both do and to say. And you may ask, what and why this timing? You know, God has His timing for all things. And whenever you and I are to be used by God, it will be according to God's timing. God does not change, and He does not accommodate us on our schedule. He does not accommodate us on what is convenient for us. But God will move according to the goodwill of His own pleasure. And you know, I'm thankful because He's always right. You know, God is always right. And I want to take time to share with you today some of the things that God will permit me to share about world missions, and more particular, the mission that we already are involved with. Since I returned from the mission field, there are things that I have not testified to. There are things that I have not spoken of. And I promised that the time would come where I would sit down and I would speak to the things that took place while I was on the mission in Liberia, West Africa. So I'm going to do as much as the Lord will allow me to do today. I said to people that have asked me, they have asked me, Bishop Jones, we never hear your testimony. We never hear you say anything, and we're waiting. We want to hear. I've been in several meetings where some of you, perhaps, that are watching this broadcast now, have walked up and asked me and said, Bishop, I can't wait to hear the full testimony of what took place and what God did in Africa. And I've responded to you, if you're watching, that I will do so when God gives me the liberty to do. And perhaps there's some things that will never be spoken of, and then there are some things that will constantly be spoken of. We have to allow the Holy Spirit to lead us in that. And sometimes people would even ask about the, well, why? Why is that the way? I want to say I made a statement that was profoundly true in every aspect of the word. And here's that statement, and God keeps bringing that statement back to me. In Africa, when I this statement is true. Some of the highest points of my entire Christian life, since I've been a minister of the gospel, took place. And then some of the lowest points took place. I've had the greatest joy of my entire life there in Africa, and I had some of the worst humiliation of my entire life there in Africa. And you try to balance that out. And so it is necessary for me to share as God would allow, not to big up Jerome Jones, not to sensationalize the events and try to garnish a certain feel from people, not to give myself any high marks of accomplishments, or not to even expose the failures that took place at my behest. There's a lot that I could talk about, and there are so many things that God did. So I want to start. This is going to be a broadcast, and it's not going to be one of the normal broadcasts. This is not going to be like I normally come on and do, because I am really feeling more and more intensely the presence of God. And I want you to, I just trust that God will minister to hearts. That's all I can do, is just trust that God will minister to hearts. When I got the word, when I've got the call of God, first of all, no one told me to go to Africa. No one walked up to me and said, this is what you ought to do. But God visited me, and God told me to go to Africa. And when God told me to go, I did not have the first means of going. There were no funds. There was absolutely nothing. And how did God tell me to go? He birthed in my heart the love and compassion to help other souls. And as I saw the suffering of other souls, out of that compassion for those souls, God was able to speak to me and say, you go. And you help them. And I, as a child of God, just said, okay. But my question to God was, how am I going to do that? Because Africa is over 8,000 miles away, and there are no funds for me to start with. So the question that I had to God was how am I going to just suddenly say that I'm going to Africa? And I heard God said to me, I have put it in the hearts of people to support financially this mission. That's what God said to me. It didn't come from no individual. God directly said to me, I have put it into the heart of people to support this mission. And I made several broadcasts. I've said this statement on broadcast after broadcast, because God told me that. And so he had to convince me of that because, first of all, I didn't have any money. I could not give you $100. I want you to see the power of God. God will tell you to do something when everything that you look at looks like it's impossible for you to do it. And it also looks like God would never be telling you to do such a thing. But God said to me, when I didn't have the first $100, when I didn't have any means of knowing where any of the resources would come from, God said, go to Africa. God said, I have put it in the hearts of people to support this. And you know what he said? He didn't stop there. He said, some will obey and some will not. Now, I said to you that I will only say what God says. I want you to know, without any drama or dramatic, sensationalized voice, I want you to know that is wholeheartedly, that is exactly what God said, and I am in no way mistaken about it. I'm not just thinking maybe God said that. No, you can't. You have to know what God has said, and after having been in the gospel for more than 50 years, after being preaching the gospel and being pastoring churches or being evangelizing around the world and raising up people in God, you get to know God's voice and you get to know when he's talking. But I didn't have to speculate this because God manifested himself to me and sat with us and told us what to do, told me what to do. Okay, so now I'm not wondering about this. I'm absolutely certain, but at the same time, I'm looking over here. There's no money here. There's no, and it's thousands of dollars that it takes to go. And so I made the decision to say, yes, I'm going. But I still don't have no means to go. But then as I left that time and started getting prepared to go, I got grossly sick. The closer we got to the date, I had set the dates. It was January the 6th that I was going to be leaving here and getting there on January the 7th. But I got grossly sick. I am sitting in my office now. This is my office inside of my room. And I nearly died here on December the 24th. I got so sick that I was laying in the bed and I was taken out of my body so that I could look at my body laying in the bed in a fetal position. And my teeth was just chattering up and down as if I was freezing. But it wasn't cold. It was 85 degrees. literally 85. But I was looking at, and I said to myself while I was looking at myself on the bed, and I'm suspended in the air, and I'm looking at myself on the bed, and I said, I'm dying. And all of a sudden, I see a vision, and the vision is me standing in Africa. And when I saw me standing in Africa, I said, oh no, I can't die because I haven't been to Africa yet. And it was as soon as I said that and saw that, I began to be put back into my physical body. And so as I got back in my body, it was back in my body, I pulled myself up out of the bed. And I didn't realize now it was already early in the morning. I had went to bed the night before. There was a Christmas Eve party going on downstairs, and I remember stepping up out of that party, coming up to the room to lay down. And as I came up to the room to lay down, I didn't know that I was about to die. I didn't know that that could have been a day that I never got up, that I could have died right there, and everybody in the house could have got up Christmas morning, and I could have been dead and gone. But when I got back into my body and I pulled myself up, it was already early in the morning on Christmas Day. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try to cook breakfast for the evangelistic team here. And I was scheduled to cook. I was purposed to cook dinner for the Christmas dinner. And so I kind of was very weak. But I went down, made my way to the stairs, and I went downstairs, and I got there in the kitchen, and where I was going to start getting the eggs and things ready for breakfast, and I fell over the counter. And as I fell over the counter, Colleen Peart was here. She was downstairs. And she came and tried to walk me from the counter, get me back upstairs so I could go lay down. But that was a task that she couldn't do because I couldn't help myself at all. I could not do anything to support my movement. So she had to carry me over to the sofa. And she took me over to the sofa, and I laid down, got me a blanket or something to just wrap up in. And there on Christmas Day, I laid there for 16 hours. And I was very, very sick that day. And I was thinking in myself, God, what am I to do? And so while I was there, Doc came over and she sat on the sofa and we talked. And we shared some good, times and just was thankful for just being there to that day as the family and that day that we can reflect on how God has kept us. But literally they know that I was so close to dying that it was just a miracle of God that I didn't. And so after everybody kind of moved out, Apostle Mike was there, and we talked, and the family. But I still couldn't get up off that sofa. And so afterwards, late that night, I managed to get back to my room with some help. And I laid right here in this room, and said, God, I've never been this sick. I've never felt like that this is it. And the question was, are you still going to Africa? And saints of God, it was no, it was just like it was an automatic. When they would ask me, are you still going? I'd say yes. I would just say yes. The only way I don't go is I die. That's what I said to them. If I don't go, it'll be because I'm dead. It's not going to be because I'm alive and can move about, you know. And some said, several, several said to me, I don't know about that. Several said to me, you should not go. Several told me that you were too sick to go. So you're too sick to go. You look like you're about to die now. And in listening and hearing all of that, I could still hear the voice of God saying, go. So I would always answer them, I'm going to Africa. And so we had to take the COVID tests, and people thought it was COVID. They thought it was COVID or something because I was, really sick, but I wasn't feeling like it was COVID. I went and took the COVID test, and they never gave me the test results. I took 2 COVID tests. Then I ended up having to go 40 miles away, take another COVID test because they never gave me the results. And even when I got this results back, it came back, said it's negative, and I'm still very, very sick. And the test came back negative, and I was supposed to be flying out 2 days later, and looked at the test, and the doctor had not signed it, so I couldn't use that. So the day before I'm to get on the plane, I had to go back 40 miles to this testing center and get in to see the doctor and get them to sign that COVID test so that I could present that at the airport to get on the plane. So after which I did, it was just a blessing of God. I drove in, I had to wait 3 hours, but I went and I got the test signed, and now I'm going to load up. I'm going to the airport. And as I was going, my heart was, before I get to going to the airport, I remember the day before, I walked into Apostle Banks, Dr. Banks, my sister. I walked into her room, and I said to her, Mary, I need to tell you something. And she said, what? And I said, well, I'm going to Africa, but I may not make it back. I may die there. And I said to her, I said, if I die there, then I need you to take care of the family. That's in essence what I was telling her. I need you to be the one to contact my wife and daughters and sons and etc. That's what I was setting in place. Because I said to her, I says, it's no guarantee that I'm going to make it back alive. And initially, when you start talking about that, we have a tendency, and it's Doc saying things, well, you don't need to talk like that. This is what it's going to be. Well, those are things that I know that are custom for us to say, but they don't always be real. You could go and lose your life and not make it back. That is real. So I wanted to make sure that first of all, I wanted to make sure that she knew I wanted to make sure that she knew, that I knew, that there was a possibility that I could die on this mission field. I wanted her to know that I knew that. Because, see, when God tells you to do something, you can't circumvent what God tells you to do, because there may be some danger to your own life. You just can't. You know, I believe the gospel. I believe what God said. And I remember when I came into God, one of the first things that I understood was that he that seeks to save his life shall lose it. Now, I understood that message over 50 years ago in a maximum security prison. I understood that message. I lived that message. And so I wasn't about to now change what God has spoken to me because it might bring harm or danger to my own life. So I wanted her to be sure. I wanted her to know that I knew what could happen. And so, we went on and I felt the next day as I was getting ready to leave, as I was getting on the road, Apostle Mike was graceful enough to take me to the airport, and he didn't feel too good about taking me to the airport. He didn't feel too good about that ride. Not in a way that he was just, he just didn't, it was just it's just anytime a loved one is leaving your presence and they are going into a foreign country that could be that have hostilities, you feel that way. So I felt that way. I felt that way, but I was so glad that he drove me to the airport. That was a very good moment. Just so glad that he did that. And as I went and got on the airport, it got to the airport and got on the plane, and now I'm headed into Africa. I get to Africa, and we get into the hotel. We get there and we get checked in. But immediately after, as we got to Africa, as soon as we got there, I knew that we were really in a third world country, one that does not afford us with all of the luxury and all of the things that we here in America and in other industrialized countries take for granted. As soon as we got there, I knew that. When we stepped out of when the plane landed, you knew, oh, okay, this is like a jungle. And now I'm not talking about like a jungle like wild animals and jungle of trees and stuff. Not in that sense, but you knew that the things that you take for granted just from at the airport. The airport is like you would not think this would be an airport for one. You would think that the way you have to get out and you have to catch a bus in the dark where there's no lighting, there's no you can't see where you're going. There's grass growing up all around where you gotta go and get on the bus to go over to another station to move out of the airport. So it was a lot of things that let you know instantly you're not in America. And so when I got picked up from the airport, we was picked up from the airport in a car that was it was an old car, must have been 30 years old, it had the wires that you had to connect. They had to, the windows wouldn't move unless you took two wires and you had to push them together just to get the windows up, and the trunk wouldn't close and the doors wouldn't close, and one of them was half off, and you could be in the car, riding in the car and looking at the road underneath you, you know. That's how we were picked up from the airport. So instantly you can see, this is not what you are accustomed to. This is not what you come from. This is not that way. And this is day one. You know, we're riding along, and you know, you got to keep your feet over here because you mess around and put them through the hole in the floor. So this is how it was. And so we get to the hotel, and so we get checked in this night, and we find that, you know, the hotel that what we would think, it is not where we are. We're in a place now where there is, you know, it's hot. You know, you go to sleep at night and you're in 100 degrees. Your air conditions doesn't work, and your internet doesn't work half the times, and you're just in a situation where you can be very, very uncomfortable compared to what you're used to. So, but this is day one, and then I find out the next morning that my bank card, credit card, debit card, whichever it might be, will not work in that country. After I had been told by 4 different people and occasions that if I have the money on my card, I could use it. I could go right to the ATM. I could go to the bank and, you know, use it. Well, that wasn't the case. So now I am there with no money, no ability to use any of the monies that I have to pay the hotel, monies I have to pay for the crusade, monies I have to buy all the equipment that is needed, the money that I had to just to take care of the mission. Now we can't use that. So now they can't pay the hotel, but God, see, God moved so the hotel allowed us to stay, and it was 12 days later before we paid the hotel, you know, and we were only supposed to be there for 20 days, and it was 12 days before we paid them anything, you know. And so that was just the blessings of God. And people said to me I want to point something out to you, because people said to me, Bishop, you ought to get out of this hotel. Get out of this hotel and go get you another hotel. There's some hotels that's much better. Get out and go. And by within me, I wanted to get out and go to another hotel because it was miserable. But within me, I could hear God said, don't leave. Stay here. Now, you know, I could have easily got out and went because the ministers there wanted to take me to another hotel. But I heard God said, don't leave. Stay here. And so I stayed right there. I didn't leave. And I found out that had I left the hotel and went to another hotel, the other hotel would not even allow me to stay there a day without paying them. But this hotel, even though I was uncomfortable, even though it was miserable in a lot of ways, it did allow me to stay there 12 days without having to make any payment. So we have to, when you're on a mission, when you're doing anything, doesn't matter what it is, you have to still listen to God. You have to listen to God. And so I stayed there, and after we worked out the financial situations, we paid the bills, and we were able then to move later on because we ended up being there a lot longer. Now, what one of the things that took place, we got ready to do the crusade. I had to pay for the football field that we did the crusade on. I had to buy the lights, the big lights on the poles that go all the way around the field. I had to also buy the generators that would provide the electricity for the lights for the football field. I had to buy and pay for the rental equipment that we had in speakers, as well as all the chairs. We had to rent all the chairs, and we had to buy the lumber and stuff to build the platform. All of those things I had to do. And I'll tell you, because Africa is watching, no one gave me $1 from Africa to buy any of those things, to pay for any of the charges. Not $1. I'll also tell you that, when we were getting ready to do that, we didn't have the monies, but I said to one of the ministers, go tell them to let us get the equipment and we'll pay them later. To this day, I have not seen the people that let us have the equipment, but we got it, and we made built the platform, and that's how that went, and we made payment later. But the thing about that is that God just give you a word. He'll direct you what to do. He just told me what to tell them to do. And when I told them to do that, they told me, oh no, they're not going to give you anything without the money. They're not going to let you get any equipment without the money, because if you leave and go back, they have no recourse. And I said to them, go tell them to let this be, and we will pay them later. And they went and did it, and that's exactly what happened. So now got the football field ready, and now we're doing the crusade, and people are coming. Saints of God, the fight that we had getting the crusade started was just a tremendous fight from the opposition. And we saw that when the crusade started, we saw even more clearly why the enemy would fight so hard to keep that from happening. We saw firsthand, but there were people that was coming from all over that community. People were coming out of witchcraft, coming out of demonic oppression. There were people coming to Christ. There were people being saved, people being healed, people being delivered night after night in the crusade. We saw why the enemy didn't want that word to go forth. I could show you clips. But see, people say, well, why don't you just... We're not saying this to brag on ourselves. We're not saying this to build ourselves up. And this is why we don't really talk a lot about it. But there was people being delivered. People, you're talking about, oh my God, you're talking about the miracle of God. You're talking about God just speaking a word and it happens just instantly. You're talking about a God that of the Bible, that when you stand in the flow of his anointing, you don't have to wrestle with demons. You don't have to wrestle with this thing that is happening. All we had to do was just speak the word, and we saw God just move in that entire field in a tremendous way. People that was sick, and people that was practicing witchcraft, and people that were just in the clutches of Satan being set free. And it happened night after night. And we were sick ourselves, while the first 6, 7 days of this crusade, we preaching every day and night, but we were sickly in our own body, just feeling just, but because the enemy kept fighting, and I kept saying, I am not going to quit. Someone asked me, because what happened while we were there, another crusade was going on in another location. And that crusade was going on, and one day Evangelist Mark and I and his sister and the driver were in the car going somewhere, and Evangelist Mark had his radio, had the phone on, and it came over the phone that the crusade had been invaded by gang members, and people were stabbed, over 40 people were killed, and hundreds others injured in the crusade. Now the people called me up and they said, are you going to keep the crusade going? Because there was a fear that these notorious gang members, they were going around, attacking. And now we hear that there's over 40 people been killed and hundreds injured. And we're sitting in an open field. There are no walls around us. There are no gates around us. There's an open football field. So we're totally exposed. And I said, we must continue. We must continue. Because God is faithful, and He doesn't send you on a mission without knowing what is going to take place. See, God already knows what the outcome is. He already knows. He's not there trying to figure out what to do. And so we kept the revival going, kept the crusade going, and at the end of the crusade, we went to the ocean, to the Atlantic Ocean, and there was a trail of people. And I never thought to go back, and I thought about this because I had seen a movie one time and how they was coming out of Egypt, and all the trails of people was coming out there behind Moses. And then I saw another one when Lot and them was coming out of Sodom and Gomorrah, this trail of people. And I never stopped, and I never thought to stop and look back and take a snapshot of all the people that were coming to the Atlantic Ocean for the baptism. My Lord, we got a few clips of some of the people actually being baptized, but we baptized boys, girls, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers. It was just a tremendous day in God to see the souls that had been reaped from the obedience that we walked in. To see how God now put His signature on the work, because people now were in Christ. People now were saved. People now had heard a gospel that changed their life. Then we had pastors. We had pastors standing up in the General Assembly saying, this is the word that we need. Saying we need this word. We need this the word that has been ministered to us. We need this word. Now, what was that word? We taught the first night on apostolic order, the government of God. We taught on the first night and laid the foundation for Bible Teachers International. Because contrary to what people thought, people thought that Bishop Jones is going there to try to do his own thing and try to have his own church. That's what people thought. That's what people thought among our fellowship of Bible Teachers International. That's what they thought. That's what some voiced. But they didn't know. They just didn't know. They were wrong, and I didn't answer them. That's all. Because I don't think it's always necessary to answer people when they're wrong. But we had no ambition to start nothing separate and apart from that we are a part of. One of the things that I want to say to all of us, when it comes to people souls being one to God, it shouldn't matter what name is put on it. It shouldn't matter. When it comes to you helping a poor and needy, it shouldn't matter what the denomination is. It shouldn't matter who's the pastor. It should not. None of those are factors that even should be considered. If you have to consider those factors, you're not walking by the Spirit, and that's not God. Okay, it's simple as that. Doesn't matter whether it's in this church, doesn't matter whether it's in the church down in South Florida, doesn't matter whether it's in the AME Baptist, whether it's in the Father's house. And the AME Baptist Church, we say they're Baptist because we try to separate them and classify them as people that don't know God. But I know some people that's affiliated in the Baptist churches that have stood with this ministry, that has helped this ministry in ways that no one else has helped. Now, I know that to be factually true. It was this Baptist preacher and his wife that took my daughter in and took care of her while she was away from home for the first time in college in Pensacola, Florida. It's this Baptist preacher, but they spirit-filled, love God. So I don't use the denomination now to wipe people out. No, there are some God-loving, God-fearing people in every denomination. See? And the AME Baptist Church helped us. The Father's house down in Leesburg have some people that just love God. They love God and they love us. And they have stood with us. They have helped us. They have helped the mission to Africa. When I was there in Africa, they helped send funds to us there as well. So when I talk about the body of Christ, I'm not just talking about Bible Teachers International. I'm not talking about just the ministry that I am affiliated with as far as the organization. There's a whole lot of others that are of the same mind. And so that's what we want to refer to. So we want to understand that, so we were there and God just provided for his ministry. And that baptism there at the Atlantic Ocean was just phenomenal. And so now we go back and now the crusade is over. The crusade is over. And now it should be time to go home. And little did we know that we wasn't going home. We just we are overjoyed at what God has done. We're excited about the future. But little did we know that we were a long ways from going home. Now we're in day 20 of this meeting. Day 20, and you could not have told me that we would be there another 70 days in the hardship of that country. So we get ready to go, and we take one of the Cynthia that came with us, precious sister. Cynthia really blessed us because Cynthia was a real champion. She came to a place she'd never been, on a mission that she had never taken the likes of in her life. And Cynthia came and she worked and she served, and she was never a problem, never agitating, never complaining, never, she came and she just helped. And she was so loved by the people. And she blessed me, and she blessed Mark, she blessed Olu, she blessed Isaiah, she blessed everybody, the children, the ladies. She just was such a blessing. And now she goes to get her test so that she can get a plane to come home, and she tested positive for COVID. So now Cynthia can't leave. And so now that means she's got to be there another week or 2 weeks. And now I was supposed to leave 2 days later. So because Cynthia has COVID, tested positive for COVID, and because she can't leave, I refused to leave. I just had to call up and cancel my flight. Not because I had COVID, but I canceled it because I was not willing to leave Cynthia there alone while I get on a plane on my way back home. I wasn't willing to do that after she has been such an inspiration to us, such a help to us, and has made the commitment and the sacrifice to come. I wasn't going to leave her there. So I canceled my flight. Little did I know at that time, and she didn't know, that we would have a hard time getting a flight out of Africa. But there's something that when I canceled the flight, I prayed about it, and I said, God, what are we doing? That's what I asked. I said, God, what is happening now? And in my hotel room, the Lord said to me, so remember when you was in America? I said, yes. He said, what did you pray about? And when I reflected on it, I remember seeing on the internet an individual, and this individual had a notorious testimony. And I remember watching it. But then after I watched them give the testimony of him, I decided to go on and follow him, try to locate him somewhere else. And so because this was a gross testimony, and so what I did is I put his name in and I started looking for him, and lo and behold, he comes up. And when I listened to him, this man was preaching and he was ministering, and I went from that to another location. He was ministering and preaching, and I've done that several times. And while I was watching that man minister, God said, you got to meet him. You got to meet him. And I said to the Lord, rather, I want to meet him. That's what it was first. I said, I want to meet him. That's what I said. And God said, you will. That's what it was. That's the way that happened. God didn't tell me I had to meet him. I said to the Lord while I was watching, I'd love to meet him. And God said to me, you will. And I'm thinking, while I was sitting in the hotel room, I haven't met him. I was about to get on the plane and leave, and I had not met this man. And once I understood that, and I embraced that, accepted that, and because I told myself the scripture in Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good to them that love God, to them that are called according to his purpose. I spoke that to myself, and God is in control of my life. I'm on a mission, and this mission is to be led by God. And so I was there, and the next day, a knock came on the door, and they had set up a meeting for me to meet this individual. The very next day, I didn't go looking for him. Very next day. See, God has his way. These are this and this is just showing again the miraculous power of God. He brings this announcement to me at my hotel. So the next day I go and meet with this person. And this person is the senior senator of the nation. And I'm meeting with this individual, and then I goes to his church, and I listen to this man. He's the pastor and overseer preaching the word of God, and he is so right in his ministry of the message that I'm sitting there like, this is just astonishing. And then after the service, he says, I want you to come up to my office. And I go up to the office, and I'm sitting there. He's got all the staffing people there, and he's got all the security people there. And he said, well, Bishop Jones, where are you? And I tell him where I'm at. And immediately, you know that you would know when I tell you where I'm at, this guy's low level. This guy, he's not for that. He's not trying to be high class, because they got some high class hotels there, 5-star hotels. But I just, I didn't go there trying to be a celebrity. I went there on a mission, and I was not going to be spending the majority of the monies there to pay for luxury hotels. Now, we're going to do better than what we was, but we're going to do it with some wisdom. So we talked, and I'm talking to this senator, and I'm listening to God. And God said to me, I have joined you with him. And that's what I haven't said anything. I haven't said nothing. But God brought us together, and I didn't even know why. While I was sitting there, I still didn't know why. Because I couldn't think for the likes of me, what in the world am I going to do or could do? And we talked and we shared, and the senator, we left and went back to the hotel, and the senator called, and he says, how are you getting around? And, we told him we had to get outside the road and, get a ride, stop a ride here and there. If we can go from one place to the other, that's the way we had to go. That's the way everybody else traveled. That's the only way we could travel, because we didn't have no rental car. We didn't have, we didn't have any of those things. And the senator says, I have a security detail. It says, I'm going to send my security detail with my car, and they will take you everywhere you need to go from 10 in the morning to 10 at night. They'll stay with you. You won't be alone. They'll stay with you. And here is God, saints of God. I just want to point something out. These people don't even know me. They don't even know me. As far as, when you talk about knowing somebody in the flesh, they don't know me, but they knew, they witnessed the unity of brotherhood by the Spirit of God. And God moved upon them and said, we want you to sit outside his hotel, and when he gets ready to go somewhere, we want you all with him. And that's the way they treated us. And it was such a blessing, because we was having to pay $30 and $40 just to go somewhere and come back. So now God blessed us so that we didn't have to pay that $30 or $40 to buy. They didn't even have to buy the gas, and we would have our own transportation driver and security staff. These were top level law enforcement officers, and so we know that it was just a work of God. And so they took us, and sometimes they drove us 3 and 4 hours in one direction, you know, and had to put us up overnight while we was 4 hours away, and then drive us back the next day. They had to go through 3 other states. Let me just, so that you'll understand it. They had to leave from where they were, take us 3 other states over, let us stay overnight, and then stay with us, and then bring us back. This is how God just moved to get us wherever we had to be, and He did it, and He wiped out the cost of us having to pay for the travel. So now we get to know Him, and what has opened up is one of the greatest joys of my life, because I've been in missions for a long time, and helping people has been a constant forte of mine. It's just, I went down to Belize, and one of the first missions I did was Haiti and then Belize, and I can tell you that it changed my life profoundly. And so this here mission resurrected all of those things, all of that passion, all of that insight, and the fervency of world missions. And so now we're there, and this pastor has laid the foundation that would change lives for generations upon generations to come. And he has a full college university. He has there haven't been, as I have seen so far or heard of, any university that's any better or that is even as good. And so one of the things I want you to see for what my calling is, and what's involved in it, because it's not enough to just preach to people. I've been a preacher of righteousness since the day I was born again. But that's not enough just to preach to people. And we have to show the love of God to people that are hurting, that are less off. We have to show that this love that we talk to you about, that we preach to you about, is something that we can give you to experience by ministering to the hurting areas of your life. And so when I got to Africa, there are people that they are hungry, they're dying of starvation, they're dying from drinking disease-infested water. They're dying because they have no ability to get medical treatment. There are young children that can't stay in school because they have no food to eat. And there are young boys and girls and grandmothers and grandfathers that have to go out and do virtually farm labor, slave labor. And they don't get paid money at the end of the day. They just get a plate of food to eat. Those are the conditions. Young boys and girls can't go on to college and get any kind of education because they have nothing to eat. We talk to college professors, we talk to the vocational school presidents, and they all tell us that the reason that the children won't stay in school is because they get sick, and they be sick for 2 and 3 months at a time because they have malnutrition, don't have food to eat. Or they got parents that get sick and because they don't have food to eat. And the children have to go out and do the slave labor so they can have food at the end of the night for the parents to eat. That's the real condition of multi-thousands around the world. And we can change that. So when I watched that, it became more apparent to me why God had me stay there beyond my planned time. And what I love about this pastor, he has a university that will not only bring them to school, but will feed them so that they can stay in school. See, he will feed them right there. Not only will he do that, but he has a campus that they can stay on campus and have their room and board taken care of. Not only that, but he's got a factory that has clean water. It produces clean water. It produces that bottled water that you drink. That factory is being completed and is partially completed now, producing some water now, but it's being completed in a way where it can produce water for the whole nation, for the state and other states. He has a radio station that has 150 feet tower that is for radio broadcasting the gospel of Christ all over the nation and into other nations. He has a I-Tech room where the boys and girls can come and get on computers and learn and have technical skills, which you don't find in Liberia. He also has a library. You think why is that important? Because if you go there and look for a library, you won't find one in other places. But he has a library, and then he has a digital library put in. So he has been so committed. He has put all of his own life in there. He has sacrificed all that he has for the benefit of others. He wrote a book. I have a copy of it. And his book, he sold 400,000 copies. And he put that all into helping others. So I want you to see that God had a reason for keeping me there. Yes, I was uncomfortable. Yes, there was a lot of misery. But beyond the uncomfortable state and beyond the misery, this brought a joy that swallowed up the misery. That's the way God is. See, that's why he says, I won't suffer you to be tempted above that which ye are able to bear. He provided with such a joy that swallowed up all of the misery, all of the uncomfort that caused me to want to endure the misery, caused me to want to endure the uncomfortableness because of the joy that was set before me. That's the way God is. And so I watched, and I was so amazed. And then he called me up, and I got a chance to tour the college. I got a chance to meet with the college president. And the president of the college is a PhD graduate. But he gave his service to work for absolutely nothing. He works free. He could take a job making $100,000 a year, but he works free. $200,000 a year, works free. Because the whole essence of this ministry is to help the underprivileged, the poor and the needy. We have a pact to help support students, to enroll students in the college. A lot of times people say, well, I'm just going to preach the gospel. Well, there are many ways to preach the gospel. And so we are helping these students get an education. Right now, while I'm speaking, I have boys and girls in vocational schools that is giving them a trade so that they can better their lives and support themselves, their families, and also pay it forward to support another family. We have a program that I put together for them, and that's how we are advancing the gospel. Then we're establishing outposts, ministry outposts. I will have a Bible study going on with the people there that we are supporting in Liberia, the people that we're supporting in Nigeria, the people that we are supporting in Uganda, the people that we are supporting in Gambia, the people that we're supporting in Pakistan. This is how we are spreading the gospel of Christ into foreign nations that sometimes are anti the gospel, but we're able to help. And so I'm there and I'm listening to all of this, but then this pastor calls a meeting. Now remember, he is the ranking senior senator of that nation. He calls a meeting with the parliament presidential cabinet, and he gets all the deputy directors there. He gets all of the people that are of importance to that whole nation, and he brings them in a room. And when he gets them there, he takes them to the 5-star hotel, Boulevard International Hotel. That's just as good as any hotel you want to set your eyes on. When you first walk in there, when you first walk in the lobby, you would automatically think this is a multi-million-dollar establishment, because you walk in the lobby and you just see all kind of expensive stuff. And there's not a paper on the floor, nothing. It's just pristine. He gets them all there, and then he calls up my assistant, and he says to my assistant, "We want you to ask Bishop Jones, would he come and meet with the government? We'd like to do a dinner in his honor, and we want all the government people there. We're going to have the presidential cabinets there. We're going to have the deputy directors there. The senators will be there, and we want this dinner is in his honor, but we want him to come and speak with us." And so now my special assistant, communicated the message to me, and I'm thinking, well, I'll go. I'm a guest. I'm not going to tell you so. But no, yeah, I'll go. But I didn't have a clue as to what was being done. And so when we got there, they got this statesman dinner, all laid out. And they got all these deputy directors sitting around this long conference room table. And the senator, is talking, and then he says, "We want Bishop Jones now to, we want him to speak to us about the vision." And I began to minister to that group. And out of that ministry, the senior senator stood up and said, "Now I have an announcement." And his announcement was, "We want Bishop Jones to work. We want to work with him with this entire project so that the university maintains its purpose, maintains the vision upon which it was founded and established on." And I am so, what he was saying is that, look, we want Bishop Jones to be the one that determines how this university works and how it moves forward and what is done long after I'm dead and gone. that's the crux of what he said. He said, Bishop Jones, we want you. We're going to put it together in writing. We're going to get the legal documents. We're going to make sure that if something, when I'm gone, if something should happen, you're going to be the one that has to make the decisions as to what gets done. And I'm thinking, my Lord, how in the world I'm going to do that? How so? You know? But again, in the midst of that, the Lord said to me, I sent you. I sent you. I delayed the plane so that you can meet here. I arranged a meeting for you to be here. I did. And so I'm just hearing, so what God says, you just trust me. Just trust me. Be led by me. And so I said to the senator, I said to the group, I am more than happy to be a part of this team. More than happy to work. I met with the professor of the college. I met with the staff at the university. I have taught with them. I have toured the facilities on a couple of occasions. I have been at the pastor's church and listened to him minister the word of God. I have preached there several times. So I am well, pleased with what I have witnessed. And all I can tell you is that I'm all in for the will of God. Because this college, let me tell you this. This college lets students come to the college, and the tuition is $8 a credit. 8, not 80, but $8 a credit. And that includes their room and board, their food. They can eat food there. That is if you don't feed them, you might as well take them out of school. If you don't feed them, you might as well take them out of school altogether. Because I talked to professors of vocational schools. I talked to professors at colleges. And they have told me something that was commonly said. One of them said to me, if I had 100 students, and if I paid for their tuition so that they can come and go to school and take the course, he said, I would be blessed if just one of them finished out of that 100. And I'm thinking, why is that? He said, the reason they wouldn't finish because they would all get hungry and have to get pulled out of school to go to slave labor to provide food for their families to eat at night, and they wouldn't be able to come to school. He said, it's not because they don't want to learn. They are eager to learn. But their economic status won't allow them to stay in school. So he said that if you want to help Bishop Jones, feed them. If you feed them, they'll be able to stay in school. If you feed these families, their mothers and fathers won't have to pull their children out of school to go out and work in the farm of slave labor to provide food. If you feed them, but if you don't feed them, nothing else matters, because when a person gets hungry, he can't, he's got to address that. So that's why I have the Food and Clean Water Project. And I'm asking you to help me right there. We got 14 families. I've got 2 right now that's in the critical area that needs help. Should have got their assistance last week. Yesterday, though, we was able to send funds out to one family, and the day before yesterday, we sent funds out to another family to help them in their economics. So we are thankful for what we are doing, but I need you to help us there. We go out and buy stuff like this. Potato chips. This little bag of potato chips can be $2.19. You know what $2.19 will do for a family of 4? It'll feed them. It'll feed all 4 of them. And we go and spend that like it's nothing. And I'm asking you to help us in the mission so that we can provide assistance to the poor and needy. And all it takes for you or anyone is to make a contribution. For $100 a month, we are able to feed a whole family of 4. $50, we're able to feed a family of 2. So sometimes that you think, how can I help? Well, I've gotten the numbers broken down incrementally so that it is very easy if we just take time of fast. This is fast day for me. Also, we've been in a fast all this week, but this is a fast day for me, and I'm yet to teach fasting because I've taught it before, but I want to teach fasting. I want to teach fasting from the position that when you fast, like today I'm fasting, what's supposed to happen? I'm supposed to take the money that I would normally use to take care of myself and eat. I'm supposed to take that money and give it to the poor and give it to those that are in need. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to leave that food on the shelf and eat it later. That's not a true fast. I'm going to teach this again. I've taught it before, but I'm going to teach it again because just think about it for a moment. If you just think about this, saints of God, this doesn't have to be a problem. If all the saints of God would fast one day, and I said this before I went to Africa, because God spoke this to me. If the saints of God would fast one day and take the money that they were going to eat themselves and give that, you would be able to feed all of the people there that's hungry. But we just won't do that. We won't do that. We'll leave the food in our cabinets. We won't let no one else consume it. And we'll eat it after the fast time and still say, I fasted unto the Lord. That's just not the case. That's not the case. And I'm saying to everyone, because when you say I can't do something, God will show you where you can do it. If there's any way possible for you to do it, God will show you. So what I do, today's monies that I'm fasting all this week. So what I've done is taken the proceeds that it would take to feed me this week, and I sent them to someone there. See, I sent them to Africa. And those people in Africa now is eating the food that I would have eaten. God calls that undoing heavy burdens. That's what he calls that. Loosing them from burdens, making somebody else's way easier. That's what God calls that in Isaiah chapter 58. So we've got to fast according to the scripture. Not just, saving food, or not just, putting it, on the shelf, putting it on hold. So I want you to understand that, because it shouldn't be a hard thing, but it's been difficult. So I come on from that place, and if I think about now, we have come back to a time, and the reason I'm doing this broadcast today, because I have not talked a lot about the mission in times past. But I'm doing this broadcast because I want all of you to know that going to Africa was not a trip that I took just to be able to say that I went to Africa. That's not it. We got a mission going on, and we got works going on there. We got a plan. We got a vision. And so I wanted you to know that I'm going back. I want you to know that I'm going back. I've been saying that all along, and people don't believe it. They didn't believe it, that I was going when I went the first time. But I am going back. And in this description, I've made it clear that if you look into the description of this broadcast, you will see that, yes, he is definitely going back. We're going to Africa. We're going to visit Kenya. We're going to visit Uganda, Nigeria. Those are 4 that we're going to sequentially be visiting those countries and those nations. Because we got works going on, and we got people that we are supporting there. We got people that we are ministering the word to and supplying help to. And God has called us to preach the gospel to the nations of the world. God has called us to do that. As I said, when I was given the call to go to Africa the first time, we didn't have none of the funds. And we had a lot of hardship when we got there, fund-wise. But God met every requirement. God met all that was required. Well, so is it now. We don't have the funds today. But I am announcing today that I am going to Africa. I'm going back to Liberia. I'm going into the other nations of the world. And we are going to continue the mission work that God is sending us forth to do. You know, we're going to be announcing, we're going to look at the dates. It won't be September that I come back there to Africa, because I didn't get back here to America until March the 19th of this year. And we are just getting almost, let me just say this again, this is so important. We're just getting almost caught up. We're not caught up. We're not caught up yet. We're still behind. When I left, we left here before intending to be there for just 20 days. And Evangelist Mark, I see that you're on, and I want to say good evening to you. I know it's late there where you are. I want to say good evening. Well, it's about midnight, so that's not too bad. It's about 11 o'clock. But I want to tell you, you need to, when we think about us being there for supposed to be there for 2 to 3 weeks, and we ended up being there for 3 months. A lot of things that I were responsible for, that I were involved with here in America and in other places, got behind, got put on hold. See, those things got behind and they got put on hold. And so now what I've had to do is I've had to be catching up. I had to catch up on all of those things, and it has been a challenge, to say the least. Because no one expected me to be gone for 3 months, and there was nothing put in place to cover this and to cover that. And we have another mission that we are going to be going on into the Bahamas in a couple of weeks. And so we are extremely busy. We're not sitting around all day doing nothing. I work 20 hours a day. And I get some people that will call me up and they get a little frustrated over because I haven't answered them, or because and I tell them, I say, you just grow up. Just grow up, because I know what I'm doing. And I'm the one that's out here doing what I'm doing to help you. I'm not getting I'm not getting nothing from it. But what is most important, and that's God being pleased. That's most important. But I'm not getting anything from this person or this group. No one is paying me a dime. No one is giving me. And as I said, when I was there in Africa, I didn't take not $1 from the crusade. You know, the crusade was done. I didn't take not $1. I don't even know what the offering was. I don't even know what it was. But I want to say this, and I started into this broadcast because I got a chance to meet now this pastor. I got a chance to meet this pastor, overseer, and he is the senator, and he is doing an outstanding work that we are a part of. And he just wanted me to get in to have a word with him just a couple of weeks ago, and I know the senator now is expecting me also to be there, but we will be there. We're going to set the time that we're going to be there. We're going to get through this here year, and we're probably going to be there in January again. That's probably the time. But here's what we want to do, and Evangelist Mark, you're there, but here's what we want to do is, and I said this months ago, we want to establish an outreach broadcast there in there on the radio. That has to be done, because when we come there this time, we're coming there to do something far beyond what we done before. I know that people are excited about what was done. I know that people are excited about, but see what God is not isolated to that little small world of mine. You know, my world may be like this, but God is not isolated. God is way out here. See, the plan that God has for you can be way out here, but if you keep on looking at it for right here, you're missing what God wants. And so we're coming to Africa, and we're asking you to help us. And those of you that are getting this broadcast, it depends upon what feed you're getting. Evangelist Mark is on with us now, and Evangelist Mark has been chosen. I did this, and he can testify to it, but I did this, and I'll tell you for the first time. I chose this young man to be the point person, to lead the part of the ministry that I would be directing. That's what I did when I was there. I worked with him, showed him various things in ministry, discipled him in what ministry is, how to go about doing this and doing that, and the things that I purposely wanted him to know so that he would be able to do at our instructions. That's what I did. And I fully expect Evangelist Mark to be that person. Now, we've had some months that have gone through it, and I'm not always happy with the way things are. I'm not one that's gonna mix words, but Evangelist Mark is the person that we can trust, that we have all the trust in, and not just because I have been there. I don't trust Evangelist Mark because I've been there. I don't trust him because of that. And I don't trust him because I have had the chance to see him and be there with him and all that kind of stuff. A lot of you think that that's what it is. That's how you deal, but I don't deal that way at all. I don't trust him because of that. That might be a reason why I would not trust him. But the reason I trust him is because God showed him to me and God told me. That's the reason I trust him. See, it had nothing to do with him. Because when you're being led by God, then you take your instructions from God And God told me that this young man was one that he sent me there to pull, to restore, and to bring him to a place where he can walk forward in the ministry. That's what God said. There's others there too that God has spoken to me about, and I'm not abandoning them. Old Lou is another one. I'm not going to abandon him. He's got some problems, but I'm not going to abandon him, because see, I don't abandon people just because of what they do or because of what they say. You know, when God done seen all of that, and if God saw all of that and God chose you, you better be thankful. So Evangelist Mark, he'll know that what I'm telling you is the truth. Because when I tell you that I am doing something, saints of God, I can prove to the whole world that I'm doing what I'm telling you that I'm doing. I don't have to make up something, but I can prove to the whole world. I can bring families on this broadcast right here with me, and they'll tell the whole world, Bishop Jones is sending me funds to eat with. He's sending me funds to go to school with. He's sending me funds to get medical help with. They'll tell you that out of their own mouths. Okay, that's what we do. That's the mission. That's the ministry. But now we've gone a little bit further in the case of some, in providing them a house to live in providing them, with transportation. Mark there is driving a motorcycle that we bought. It's our ministry back motorcycle, but he's driving it there for transportation. And that blesses us, because I know the hardship it is to get from one place to the other. I know what that's like, having been there. But we've also established a bank account there at the Gratuity Trust Bank, and that account is open today. We also have a bank account established in the name of Mark, so that he can transact the business that we authorize him to transact. So we have a system in place that we can push the green button and say, let's go. See, because we're not just going to be dispersing monies to different ones and not know where it's going. We're not going to be helping people that don't really need the help. We're not out there just to be a channel by which someone can manipulate and say one thing, but what they're saying is not factual. No, we're checking out your situation. We're making sure that it goes through the proper procedures that guarantees that if this is a need, here is the funds that is been designated for that need. There's times that this Mark has had to call me and says, I don't have any food. We don't have no more food. We're out of gas for the bike. We don't have any food. And I have had to wait 2 more days before I could send any money there for him to get food with. Just recently. See, but that's just why. Now, did I have to wait because I didn't have any monies? Absolutely not. I had some monies. I had some monies, but it was not designated for him. It was given to me for another family. So because it was given to me for another family, I wasn't going to take it and give it to anyone else. We have to have integrity with people and with God. And so we got this set up so that we can work ministry. And it is the same way if I send funds in there, and Mark will be able to take those and make sure that the families that we have designated those funds to go to, to make sure that those people get those funds. That's what we're set up in there. So we've set up a system. That's the only point that I want to make. I don't have time to go into all the details about how it is set, but we've got a system there. And God enabled us to do that. Now the senator is doing some magnificent things with the university. The water factory is there. The classrooms are there. The dormitories are there. The kids are being enrolled. He sent me all of the enrollment of the last orientation period. And now we're coming into September, August. We're in August, and it's time for September to be enrollment again. And we want to have students that you can support to go to school. And we're asking you to help the mission so that the mission can help the underprivileged students, the underprivileged families, that can help provide food and water and assistance to help them in their education. You could do that, and saints of God, it can be done if we just all just give a little. It doesn't take much if we all just give a little. If we say, well, like the widow woman didn't have but a little handful of meal, but it was enough. The little boy had 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, but it was enough. You're just amazing. If we just, God is saying, do you have a heart that you want to support? That's what God is saying. So yes, I am going back to Liberia. So you can put that down, and you can tell everybody there that I am coming back to Liberia. And it's not just going to be a time. I said when I was there, we're going to be eventually going to Liberia 3 or 4 times a year, if the Lord's will. If the Lord's will, that's where we're headed. We're not just talking about just going there for just to visit, but we're talking about a work, spreading the ministry all over that continent. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting with Minister Cephas and helping him to minister to those that are caught up in human trafficking. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting into Morocco, getting into Guinea, getting into Egypt, getting into Algeria, getting into these things. We're talking about nationwide. When like I say, sometimes your world can look like this, and you're focused there, but God's world says stretch out. And so we're going to be diligently, moving to hear what God is saying and to go into these nations. But saints of God, you can help us go. Now, right now, we need to be getting ready to get our itinerary ready for Liberia right now. Because even we gotta make sure the things that we went through the first trip there, we shouldn't have to go through those things on this trip, because we know a lot more now than we knew then. And we've learned a lot now that we did not have the knowledge of then. So from Mark's standpoint, Mark is the person that's going to coordinate our activities. We got to get our housing together. We got to get our transportation coordinated. We got to get all those things fixed before we get there. We're not coming there to try to find out how we're going to do this now. We need to get all those things fixed before we get there. And we got to get them done at the most economical cost. One of the things I want to tell people in Nigeria and in Gambia and in Liberia and in Kenya and Uganda and Pakistan and India. One of the things I want to tell you guys, because I get this all the time, and I've had to rebuke some pastors. I've just had a pastor in Nigeria. I had to rebuke him because, and I said to him, I said, this is you got the wrong attitude. Just because you look through this camera, and you see me, and you see me sitting here with the books and the pictures or whatever you're in the view, and you see that, you say, well, he must, you come to the assumption that he must be wealthy, must be doing pretty good. I am doing really, really good. That's what I need you to know. But that doesn't mean that we're rich in money. Doesn't mean that. And that's what a lot of times, that's what we get from people from those countries. They assume that, if they need $100, I should just be able to just send them $100. That's you got the wrong approach. You got the wrong approach. And it's up to me to teach you the right approach. I've had pastors get upset because we wasn't sending them this or sending that. And I said to them, "Did you know I nearly died? Did you know that I nearly died? And you didn't even ask me how I was doing. All you concerned about is what you want." And one of the first rules of walking in the gospel was self-denial. So you wasn't thinking about how Bishop Jones was doing, how was his health. You don't know what issues, and you guys got to understand that we have ministries here that we have obligations to. We're not your personal pastor. We're not your personal, I don't want you to get this thing all mixed up. Be thankful that somebody that's 8,000 miles away would even lift a hand to help you. That's what we have to do. That's just the raw truth. Be thankful that somebody that's 8,000 miles away, that haven't seen, doesn't know whether you're this or that. Just be thankful that they are willing to take anything that they get in their own hand and release it to you. Just be thankful. Whether it's one time a year or 100 times a year, just be thankful. And if we do that, God knows how to supply now. He knows how to supply. So I want you to keep that in mind, because a lot of times I'm sitting here and people are calling every day. I can show you my phone today, and I'll have 15 to 20 call requests for help. So that's not new. And guess what? I don't answer them all. I don't answer them all by design. So you got to just understand that we're here to do what God has given us to do, and we have to stay within the leading of God. God has sent me to Liberia. God has given me a mission to work the ministry there. And God has associated me with people that have the same mind and heart to work with ministry. Now, that haven't always been good. I had some terrible times there in Liberia. And times in which ministers fought to hinder. But that doesn't mean I'm not going back. It doesn't mean that. I'm going back because God said so. I'm not going back to prove anything to anyone. I'm going back because God said so. See, and that's where we got to stay, saints of God. We got to stay on the side of doing things because God said do it. Not doing things to prove who we are, not doing things to be seen, not doing things to build up our egos and stuff like that. We got to do things because this is what God said do. And if you're doing it for any other reason, it's for vainglory. See? And so we're going to Africa, and I need your support because I don't have the budget at all. Not any of it. But we need your support. And we're going to raise $5,000 to $10,000 for that mission. And you can help us. You can help us. Now, I've also put in the description of this broadcast, I didn't do it for the others, there are 2 links there. And the 2 links are there, and I want to put this on here in audio form too so that you can understand it. There are 2 links there that one of them has this product on it. This is a fuel tabs. Fuel tabs. Now this is going to be big. This is going to be big around the world. One of the links will allow you to sign up and order these products. What will they do? This package has 6 tablets in it, 6 little tablets. You take one of them, you put it in your gas tank, and then you fill your tank up with gas. And you do that for all 6 of these tablets. That is going to increase your gas mileage. What that means is that instead of getting 6 tanks of gas, you'll drive the distance of 8 tanks of gas. You get an extra 2 tanks of gas mileage out of this one pack. This pack is $24 if you order it through your online website. But now 2 tanks of gas in the car that I drive, to put 2 tanks of gas in it would cost me $180 to $200. So if I can spend $24 and get 2 extra tanks of gas, that means I have saved $180 to $200. Then it should be easy for me to take 50 of those dollars and help a starving family. If I took $50, I still got $150 savings. Plus, this will help keep the oil cleaner in your car. This will help keep your catalytic converters cleaner. This will help keep the engine clean, and it will optimize your motor engines. And it works in tractor trailers, lawnmowers, weed eaters, generators, anything that burns fuel, propane, diesel, gasoline, ethanol, whatever. And it is worldwide patented by the United States of America. So it is the best of the best. And it's going to be a real game changer with fuel. So I'm asking you to go there, sign up, and purchase this. You're helping yourself, but you're helping a family. But when you buy it, I got to trust. See? I got to trust that you'll say, Bishop Jones, I'm going to take 50 of those dollars that I saved, and I'm going to give them to save a family. I'm going to trust that you'll do that. I have another site there called Our Own Rescue. It'll cost you $10 to get started. And you can do this one from anywhere in the world. I want you to sign up, because everything that you see me put out on my broadcast, where is it directed? It is directed to helping the poor and needy. So every time you participate in it, you are given, you're making it possible for me to help a family or help someone that's in dire need around the world. You're helping us go into the nations of the world and minister to them. So in doing so, in helping us do that, you're also helping yourself. These two sites that I have on this in the description on this broadcast, it wouldn't be on the one that you're looking at right here on that stream, because I didn't put any information. This is just a stream to so that I can see on the screen. But in this screen here, you will see a description of those links. And if you get on those websites, and all you've got to do is share them with your friends. Share them with your friends. You know how many cars you got sitting in your driveway that could save off of this? You know how many cars, you know how many children that you got, children that drive, that if you can extend the gas mileage, what kind of savings that would be to the household. But in light of that, you can also make a real good income that will replace the income on your job for doing this, for just sharing it with your friends, your acquaintances, family members, and all of a sudden you start seeing an income just grow and grow and grow. And so this will put you in a better position to help us spread the gospel around the world. So I'm asking you to do that. Now I'm going to bring this broadcast to a close because we've been here about 2 hours almost, and I wanted to take time though to sit down and just talk with you about the mission and to really ask for your help, in getting us back to Africa, in getting us to the place where we can help these families. And if you want to give something now, then you could go to our Cash App and you can give that. I'm sure that you all are familiar with that now. So make a contribution and say, this is for Africa. This is for the missions to Africa. If you'll do that, then we'll mark it for that and we'll get ready for the trip. But you're going to see a lot more campaign announcements about the African mission, because we are definitely going to be there. I'm going to have Evangelist Mark on the broadcast with me. I'm just getting set. Incidentally, today, this is my first time actually getting up. It was already 4:30. I mean, I was so tired that I just had to rest all day long. And I've got we're doing a men's breakfast in the morning ministry that I have to be in and prepare the breakfast, and then we got our Sunday festivities are so busy. But at some point tomorrow, Evangelist Mark and I want to do a broadcast to give you an inside look at some of the things that we're doing and some of the things that the ministry has in its vision to do right there in Africa. And so Evangelist Mark, I'll be out of the breakfast around about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and I don't know what time that is your time. Well, that's 3 o'clock your time. So, and tomorrow will be Saturday. That's 3 o'clock your time. So if you can plan about 4 o'clock your time, 11 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock your time, to be ready to be online with me live, that would be ideal for our next broadcast. Well, saints of God, I'm going to leave you right now, and we love you in Jesus' name. I'm Bishop Jerome Jones saying, if you go with God, I know that God will surely go with you. And until the very next time, do now have a Jesus-filled day.